Welcome to Malaysia and the 2013 KFC International Regatta Perdana, starting today in picturesque Langkawi. The KFC Regatta Perdana is a famous event now in its 10th anniversary year. It gathers top athletes in the sport from the Southeast Asia region and around the world, competing in different categories and boat types. On this first day of racing, preparation started early. Sailors received the last instructions from their coaches and signed the participation list before hitting the water.
This year, I think they will have the biggest number of competitors here.
In this regatta, we have a lot of class: Optimist, Bike, 470, 420. There's the radial, there's the 4.7 standard, and windsurfing.
Very nice wind condition every time.
Langkawi International Regatta, the weather is like this, quite good, sunny every day, and the wind quite shifty here, so it's gonna be a good, tough race.
With more than 9 classes, the KFC Regatta is one of the most competitive events organised in Asia. This beautiful spot in Malaysia offers an ideal setting in which athletes competing in the Olympic categories can train and test their competence levels, while the home countries of some of them experience bad weather this time of year. But let's get better acquainted with the different classes involved in this event. Let's start with the double-handed dinghies, the 470s and the 420s. Especially when it comes to the 420, the level is really high, with over 25 boats taking part this year. Fierce battles are expected. Then we come to laser standard and radials. Very many countries participate in these classes and the competition is expected to be fierce. But among them is also the local hero, Muhammad Effendi Khairunizam, the only Malaysian sailor who took part in this summer's Olympics in London. Only at 19 years of age, Khairunizam is a member of the local sailing association, organising the Langkawi event. We move then to the smaller boats, where the enthusiastic youngsters up to 15 years of age compete in the Optimist class. And this is the one enjoying the highest level of entries this year, with about 100 participants. This is an excellent place for these teenage athletes coming from India, Hong Kong, Indonesia and elsewhere to gain valuable experience and skills that will help them in the future to improve their ability. Finally, we have 2 more categories competing in the KFC International Regatta: the Laser 4.7 and the Bite, which cover the ground between the Optimist and the Laser Standard and Radial. But let's discover what happened on the first day here in Langkawi. In the Bite category, the boats largely went for the pin end side, with Hafizawan enjoying the best start and rounding the weather mark on top, with a relatively safe lead from Azri and New Shazrin, but they were not too far behind. They all headed downwind after rounding, with New Shazrin sailing deeper, then managing to cross ahead of Azri. This helped New Shazrin gain a few precious meters from Hafizawan, who was already feeling the heat. During the second upwind, New Shazrin was determined to get on top, but Hafizawan did a good job preventing her from getting too close. It wasn't enough. It took a few moments of inattention and it was all New Shazrin needed. She grabbed her chance and seconds later she crossed ahead and confidently headed for the bullet. But let us look at the results after the 3 races completed today. In the first full day of racing action, the weather conditions were responsible for a fair share of surprises and upsets. As it is often said in this sport, you can't win an event on the first day, but you can certainly lose one. But even though a lot is already at stake, in the end the opportunity for discards will also be given to athletes. So the ones who did not perform as well on this first day will be able to recover, as long as they improve their performance. The 10th KFC International Regatta Perdana continues, with the heat and tension of this very competitive event only certain to increase, especially with the stronger winds expected for the second day of the event. Welcome back to the KFC International Regatta Perdana and its second day in the beautiful waters of Malaysia. The many races that comprise this regatta, involving several boat categories, take place in the island paradise of Langkawi. A place offering not just wondrous views but also consistent weather, in a racing area formed by a gulf surrounded by smaller islands. The combination of a calm sea and strong winds makes Langkawi an ideal sailing destination for major sailing events.
For 2015, we will organize World Youth in Malaysia. Langkawi is the best, one of the best candidate, one of the best location for that event.
We want to make the Langkawi as one of the beautiful places to visit for everybody. very calm, beautiful. You don't need to worry about the traffic. And we have a very nice people, always entertain and smiling at you. This is what we have. I hope people are coming here, coming to this island, will come back again next time.
But let us come to all the developments in today's races, held for the 9 categories competing in total. Today, the wind was stronger. It was exactly what participating athletes were quite hoping for, so they could be seen to very much enjoy today's conditions. Perhaps this holds especially true for the laser standard Malaysian sailor Kai Ruzinan. The local hero, fresh from his participation in last year's Olympics, knows these waters well. He appears confident about his performance. The first race of the day indeed saw him starting strongly. He was the first boat on the pin end. He sailed fast in the first few metres and quickly was able to distance himself from the rest of the fleet. Staying on the left side of the course, Kai Ruzinan took advantage of the more powerful gusts present there. By the time he reached the weather mark, he had already managed to extend his lead. This race was apparently turning into a cakewalk for the Malaysian. After completing the inner loop, Kai Ruzinan sailed a really fast reach. This more than proved that his travelling to London for the previous Summer Olympics was no accident. Following a swift downwind, the Malaysian headed for the finish line and scored his second bullet in this year's KFC International Regatta. And he wouldn't stop there. Today, his consistent performance was rewarded by a further 2 bullets that brought him on top of the leaderboard. Kai Ruzinan's powerhouse performance may have been the undisputed highlight on this second day of the regatta, but this was still one eventful day. And not just because the 2 races in the morning were followed by another 2 in the afternoon, complete with fierce battles where sailors, young or adult, were all hungry for victory. The midday prayer, after the early races were completed, reminded spectators of the religious beliefs and rich culture of the majority of participants of Southeast Asian heritage. And they must all be proud about the success this regatta enjoys, now in its 10th anniversary year. But it's not just victory that is sought here in Malaysian waters. Many new and relatively inexperienced teams, like the one from Hong Kong, gain invaluable experience here, much improving their skill.
These guys are quite new. We're not fully sure how they'll do overall, but after today's results, we seem to be getting some more in the top 10. So I'm hoping if the weather is consistent like it was today and conditions are good, we can build on what we've done today and maybe some more top 15s, top 10s, and that would be fantastic.
With the penultimate 3rd day of this exciting event following, things are anticipated to turn even more competitive as the KFC International Regatta Perdana is reaching its climax. The 10th International Langkawi Regatta Perdana had another exceptional day with lots of action and sailing highlights. Held in Malaysia, the regatta gathers the greatest number of international athletes in dinghies in the wider region. But a lot more than sheer enthusiasm and great organising skills are needed for a sailing event of this scale to truly arrive on the international stage, and for the local athletes to be competitive too.
Generally in Malaysia, we try to develop sailing. For these purposes, we need a lot of money, budget. We're quite lucky because we have a Kentucky Fried Chicken who are sponsoring us for the development, where every year we're getting a sponsorship and where we are funding them to run the event.
Let's go into the day's developments, in particular the 470 class races. Here, locals Kuanas and Mohammed Hafizawan were leading the race so far and were involved in some fierce battles with Zaman and Amid Hakimi. The tricky weather on this 3rd day of the regatta saw the medium breeze of around 15 knots die down after the start of the race, so especially these athletes picking the right side of the course could well regret their decision. And so it was, since the girls going for the left side, Kai Ruzinan and Nushazrin, were the ones who managed to round on top at the weather mark. Kuanas was on their tail now, but decided not to accept defeat was inevitable. And so, even though the girls sailed fast during the reach, they could not keep up their good performance during downwind and promptly lost their lead. Both of these crews have ascended to 470 class following their great success in the 420 class. The girls have won gold and the boys silver in the 2010 Asian Games. The Asian Games are recognised by the International Olympic Committee. In fact, they are described as the 2nd largest multi-sport event after the Olympic Games. So this is no mean feat for both crews. The end of the race did not include an upset in the current order. Victory was claimed by the boys this time. The presence of both Olympic and Asian champions here in Langkawi speaks volumes about the level of competition and the significance of the event put together for the past 10 years by hosts Malaysia. These days, very many athletes from around the globe are eager to find themselves in this ideal setting for sailing and compete against the very best talents in the sport this region has to offer. And the congregation of so many different boat classes in the KFC International Regatta Perdana suggests the growth of the sport in this rapidly developing region. Above all, the regatta provides an amazing opportunity for so many athletes, from the young Opti Salos to the adults on board the 470 and lasers, to improve their abilities and prepare for other events too. After a really exciting third day full of racing action in the waters of Langkawi, everyone looks forward to the final day, where many of the winners will be decided. In Langkawi, the 10th KFC International Regatta Perdana reached its closing day. This was another successful event for the Malaysian hosts, gathering this year more than 200 athletes from the Southeast Asian region, as well as from around the world. Everyone feels this has been a great 4 days here in Malaysia, not least because of the ideal sailing conditions throughout the event. The big techno races began the day's schedule, with athletes trying their hardest for a place at the podium. For them, the effort was certainly bigger. In the morning's light weather, they needed to pump more in order to go faster. But doing this for 30 minutes straight while the race lasted is no mean feat. Moving on to another racing area and following the action of the Optimist class. There it was India's Aryaman Dutta with the best start on the pin end side. But it was local athlete Ali Imran that was on windward, and once he tacked, Dutta did the same. It was obvious from the start that the left side of the course was the favourable one now. Both of these athletes soon were leading the fleet and rounded the top mark, with Imran following Aryaman closely as they both continued downwind. The rest of the fleet followed suit, with the young guns showing their skills in these light conditions. Even at this very early age, they have learned not only to steer their own boat but to compete in international championships. The level of skill and technique attained in order to take advantage of the wind shifts and to perceive the various rules they had to comply under when racing in events like this one is quite remarkable. But going back to the race, in the closing stages and following some fierce battles, it was Imran that finally crossed the finish line first, leaving Dutta in second place. Let's have a look at the final results. It was 4 days full of action and races. All classes sailed more than 11 races, meaning that the young guns could discard their worst ones. The favourites finally managed to get on top. Even if during the event we had a lot of upsets, the shifty and tricky weather conditions offered an exciting spectacle. It would not be the perfect sailing event here in Malaysia without an exceptional closing ceremony, where the winners of the numerous categories competing would receive their trophies. After 4 exhausting days of racing, they saw their efforts rewarded, surrounded by the enthusiastic crowd of spectators, as well as their fellow athletes. And for now, the 10th anniversary edition of the KFC Langkawi International Regatta Perdana has come to an end. We renew our appointment for next year, together with the many sailors, coaches and fans of sailing visiting beautiful Malaysia. Thank you for being with us.